We have an update when it comes to an upcoming possible departure from AEW, plus new news from Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor event for WrestleMania weekend. Plus, Kenny Omega earning rave reviews for his AEW Executive Vice President role. We also have the gross total for the AEW Revolution pay-per-view. All this and more in today's AEW News. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestle News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of AEW. So let's start off talking about an upcoming departure from All Elite Wrestling, that being Marko Stunt. Now, of course, Marko Stunt was initially a regular on AEW programming when the company was first founded back in 2019, but Marko Stunt hasn't appeared on any All Elite Wrestling programming since early October on an episode of Dark Elevation on YouTube. Now, his actual television absence is even longer than that, stretching back to September of 2021. Now, Stunt's contract with the promotion is due to expire soon, and Joey Janela recently revealed in an interview with Denise Salcedo that AEW had, quote, just stopped talking to Marko Stunt. In an update, Fightful Select, Sean Ross Sapp is reporting that Stunt hasn't been backstage at an AEW show for months, and no creative plans have been discussed for the 25-year-old during this period of time. Merchandise has also been designed for Jurassic Express without Marko Stunt. Of course, the initial Jurassic Express faction was Stunt, Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus. Stunt's essentially been replaced by Christian as the mentor-like figure for Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, and Marko Stunt really hasn't been seen for a long, long time when it comes to AEW, this all suggests that he's very much been quietly removed from the faction. While AEW may have stopped talking to Stunt, he remains under contract with the promotion with his deal due to expire in May. Stunt is still eager to, quote, prove himself and remain with the company, but if he will get that opportunity to do so remains to be seen. So it's a strange one, Marko Stunt, isn't it? Because I recall that in the early days of his absence, or certainly a few months ago, he addressed his absence on social media and said, I'm still under contract to AEW. I haven't been released. I think he was auditioning for The Voice. We've seen him play his guitar several times on AEW programming. I think was it the debut episode of The Waiting Room with Britt Baker and Rebel. He played his guitar, and there's videos of him singing, and reportedly the stuff with The Voice was going well. So he'd spent some time away from AEW television to pursue that. But it also isn't, I suppose, the first time that we've heard people that when they're coming to the end of their AEW contracts, which several people are now, that 3-year period of those people that signed those 3-year deals in 2019 is coming close to being up. And we're hearing maybe some not too great stories when it comes to talent relations, when it comes to Tony Khan or whoever deals with those contracts, that people are trying to reach out for answers and they're just not getting them, kind of out of sight, out of mind, which, to be honest, is very similar to WWE in that sense, right? And I feel like this is basically what's going to happen with AEW, and it's why everyone was saying at the time, back in 2019 when they were first founded, you remember all those interviews that Cody Rhodes did, we're going to have health benefits and health insurance, we're going to do this, and WWE isn't going to do like WWE does, we're going to do this, and everyone sort of said at the time, just be careful, because the time will come that you find out why WWE does what they do. And I'm not sort of backing WWE and I'm not defending WWE, but it's also worth pointing out that, again, they have a reason for why they do these certain things, in my opinion. And you tend to find them out eventually. And that's kind of the case when it comes to Marko Stunt. So, I think also, you know, I want to do this the most respectful way possible, I suppose, when it does come to Marko Stunt. But I do look at him and say, okay, what value is he adding to the AEW product? At the time when there are so many people coming into this roster, there are so many maybe more valuable people, or so many people that are more proven or are bona fide draws or can work or whatever, can be slotted into various programs, what value does Marko Stunt have? His value has certainly been reduced. And that's kind of the situation. You can't be, you know, it's show business, right? It's not show friends, not show business. And that's kind of the situation. I think a lot of people, to be honest, probably had, I suppose, issues with Marko Stunt's presence on a national, you know, pro wrestling television program anyway, saying that maybe he wasn't right for that role. I don't know. I'm sure he would want to prove himself, but it looks like he's going to have to do that elsewhere. And that's pro wrestling, unfortunately. And I certainly don't agree with this whole notion of, I think Joey Janela said the same thing, nobody's talking to me, and Chavo Guerrero said the same thing, nobody's talking to me. Marco Stunt's kind of got the same situation as well now, nobody's talking to me. That's a problem. That is absolutely a problem. And AEW, they need to fix that, whether that's Tony Khan, whether that's talent relations, whether that's whoever. Tony Khan, when he spoke in the post-Revolution press conference when it came to the Chavo Guerrero situation of, I've been kind of busy, I'll call him back. We're talking about, top-level pro wrestling here. We're talking about business. If you can't do it because and I don't think anyone would look at Tony Khan and say, we've got loads of time, because he doesn't. He's spread incredibly thin. He's the president, head of creative, CEO, whatever for AEW. Of course, he's involved in the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's involved with Fulham. He's the director of football. He's got a multitude of other businesses. He's spread pretty thin. Now he's the owner of Ring of Honor. If you need someone else to do that job, do that job. That's why you've got talent relations. But to have these constant stories of people that aren't really getting back to me, that's a problem. That certainly is a problem. And like I said, I'm not shocked that someone like Marco Stunt's going from the AEW roster, because I don't really see a place for him on there anyway. But that whole transitional process of nobody's talking to me, that's an issue. I think that I can barely speak for Marco, obviously, but myself, I would just want to know. You just want to know either way, and then you can move on with your life, you can move on with your career, and that's kind of the situation, I suppose, when it comes to Marco Stunt. Let's talk about Ring of Honor, because of course Tony Khan is the owner of Ring of Honor, and just in case anyone forgot, AEW president Tony Khan now owns Ring of Honor, and as a result, more AEW stars are being added to the upcoming Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor show on Friday, April 1st, which of course isn't really that surprising considering Tony Khan owns both promotions, but also because of that report that came out previously where it was like, actually, not a lot of talent's been booked for that show because nobody knew really what was going on. Tony Khan has a roster of talent available for him. He can just sort of slot that in, and that's what we're seeing. One of the latest AEW stars to be added to the card will be very familiar to Ring of Honor fans, as a former Ring of Honor World Champion Jay Lethal will be taking on Lee Moriarty in a singles match. Now, Moriarty will have mentor Matt Sydal in his corner. Of course, Sydal has a history of Ring of Honor too, having held the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships with Christopher Daniels. Of course, Jay Lethal spent over a decade in Ring of Honor before he joined AEW last year, was named Ring of Honor Wrestler of the Decade, also winning the Ring of Honor World Championship twice and becoming a Grand Slam champion in the process. When it does come to Matt Sydal, though, before I give you my thoughts on this one, he's actually out of an injury at the moment. Sydal has revealed he's out of action after not appearing on AEW television since February 21st. He last wrestled on AEW Dark on February 21st and revealed on Twitter that he's currently out of action with a dislocated knee. He said, quote, "Thanks for the birthday love. A brief update. I dislocated my knee a few weeks back, which is why I haven't been active in AEW. In good news, there were no tears in my ACL or PCL. Going to do some meditating, then be back better than ever." Sydal last wrestled on February 19, defeating Nano Lopez at the Kingwin PTW2 Blackout event in Poland. So he's not going to get physically involved in that one because he's out of action with an injury at the moment. But Supercard of Honor is fascinating. I think obviously it's going head-to-head with Rampage as well. And Tony Khan revealed in a recent interview that he's not changing that because, of course, the event was already scheduled. Tickets have been sold, ideally, and going forward when Ring of Honor gets its TV series up and running and all that kind of stuff, wherever it may be, whether that's actual cable television, whether that's streaming, wherever it lives, it's not going to be going up against AEW programming, that's for certain, because it doesn't make sense to have your two companies competing with each other, and I don't think they'll do that. But I think we're going to see a lot of this. We're seeing people, as I mentioned, like FTR facing off against the Briscoes, which was the original plan anyway, but I wouldn't be shocked at this Supercard of Honor event as the days go on and we get closer to it that we'll see more AEW stars announced for it because, again, we spoke about this a couple of weeks ago. That whole show, the production of that show is completely in flux because of the sale. People that were setting it up from Ring of Honor employees or Sinclair employees are like, well, we're not in charge anymore and we don't really know what's going on. We had plans. We had a new logo. We had lots of marketing planned, but that's all up in the air now. And I think Tony Khan will be looking at it as it's going to be a bit of a patch job and it's going to be quite a quick turnaround, and there's things I can't change already because they've already been announced or whatever that may be, but what I can do is just do some patchwork. I can just call in some of these AEW guys. I can do the show, the best show possible, and then my vision of Ring of Honor can kind of be kickstarted from that. And I think that's realistically the direction that he's going to be going in with that show. So more matches will be announced soon, and looks very, very exciting. Kenny Omega, spoke about this briefly earlier. Of course, Kenny Omega is out of action with numerous injuries and multiple surgeries at the moment, but he's getting a lot of praise for his work as an executive vice president, with the recent news that AEW's Kenny Omega is undergoing undergone several surgeries to fix injuries sustained during the last few years, reports have emerged praising Omega for his role as an AEW EVP, which Omega has committed more time to as he heals up from these said injuries. The report via Fightful Select, Sean Ross Sapp once again, says that Omega has been taking up his duty as an executive vice president seriously during his in-ring absence, with Omega allegedly being the person who informed Brian Cage that his contract option has been picked up. The news comes off the back of recent reports pertaining to the hotly anticipated AEW video game, which of course Omega is heavily involved with when it comes to the production. Omega last wrestled against Hangman Page at Full Gear last November, where he dropped the AEW World Championship. He's currently sidelined, as I mentioned, with those surgeries for multiple injuries. There is no time frame on his return. It's quite curious, isn't it? Because this is curious when it comes to the role of the AEW EVP. That's what I'm talking about here. I think a lot of people, myself included, were kind of under the assumption that the AEW EVP was just title and title only at this point. Any sort of authority or power they had was gone at the end of 2019, where Tony Khan pulled the reins back a bit. Dynamite wasn't really going the way they wanted to, especially creatively. That's when Tony Khan said, no, I'm booking the show. It's my company. This is what I've got to do. And arguably, that's part of the reason maybe why Cody Rhodes left. I mean, finances, obviously, but he also wanted some kind of creative control when it came to the show. He wanted to book the show. He wanted to be like his father. So a lot of people said, and lots of reports came out, that they're EVPs, but EVPs in name only. And I suppose, you know, whilst they still probably have an EVP contract or an EVP role, they're an actual employee of the company, they can still get involved in other aspects that aren't creative. And whilst Kenny Omega's on the shelf, and whilst he still probably travels to some shows, or he at least can go to the office, he can still do stuff. And like I said earlier on, when it comes to this communication, when it comes to contracts, or it comes to letting people know that they're not going to be used, or they are going to be used, and their option's going to be picked up, like with Brian Cage, that's what the EVP should be there for. Like Kenny Omega, like the Young Bucks, like other people in the company. You've got to delegate at some point. And interesting that Kenny Omega's getting a lot of praise for that. At the same time, that you've got someone like Cody Rhodes leave because maybe the role he initially had, he didn't have anymore. So I think that's quite curious that report comes out at this time. Finally, we have an update when it comes to AEW Revolution and the amount of money that AEW made. All Elite Wrestling held their first pay-per-view of 2022 on March 6th, and the show has proved to be a successful one for Tony Khan's promotion. In an update on the pay-per-view buys, Dave Meltzer reported in the Wrestling Observer newsletter that the show was purchased between 167,000 and 173,000 times, making it the second biggest pay-per-view the promotion has ever done in its short history. Now, All Out 2021 remains the company's biggest show, drawing 205,000 buys, while Full Gear 2021 falls third with 145,000 buys. Revolution received a large surge in buys after the show aired, with late buys said to be up 14% on TV pay-per-view from the same day buy number and up 15% on streaming platforms. For revenue overall, which includes pay-per-view buys, live gate merchandise, and cinema tickets from special screenings of Revolution, the March pay-per-view grossed $8.3 million. After various parties received their cuts of the money, AEW will walk away with $4.55 million. Ain't bad. When, again, they look to be doing good business when it comes to their pay-per-view model, because, of course, Double or Nothing has become the largest non-WWE gate in North American history, essentially, or in a very, very long time. Which, again, is a credit to AEW. I know a lot of people are obsessed with AEW's finances. They're not doing well. They're in the red, because Tony Khan, of course, did that interview whenever it was, and he said, yeah, we made a loss and the only reason we made a loss was because I invested so much in the AEW video game, console game. But people don't realize, and this is again, so worth pointing out, that in the first however many years of their existence, companies lose money. Like, that's how business works. Very few companies in the first few years of their operating make money. You know, that's the gamble of setting up a business, is that how long can you make it until you hold out, essentially, until you are able to make money? That's the situation. That's how it works. So I think that they deserve a lot of credit for that, frankly. I do, and be interested to see how that develops in the future. Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts on today's AEW news stories in the comment section below. Be sure to like and subscribe to Wrestle News 365, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.